I'm talking to Nancy Miller, who is the former superintendent of Maple Leaf Golf and Country Club in Florida. She was also president of the Florida GCSA. Thanks so much for joining us, Nancy. Tell us a little bit about your background and your journey into turf.
I made a career switch when I was 45. I was a paralegal and I did mortgage closings inside all day long. And the mortgage business, well, actually, the real estate market in the area that we were living with the recession just sort of died out. So I changed careers. I went back to school for turf management. And I have a 2-year degree, an associate's degree in golf course operations from State University of New York at Delhi in Delhi, New York. It was quite an interesting switch from being inside to being outside. It was liberating. It was frightening. It was fun. But on the other hand, it was kind of scary because I was kind of leaving everything that I knew to try something totally different and totally off the wall. And I had great support from my family. I couldn't have done it obviously without them. But yeah, it was quite a switch, and I'm really glad I made the switch.
What were your initial observations when you kind of came from a paralegal environment into the golf and outdoors environment? What did you kind of observe? What did you like? What did you perhaps not like quite as much? What were your kind of initial impressions?
I loved being outdoors. Taking just a few minutes every day to look around and appreciate where I was rather than being stuck in an office. Being in Florida rather than upstate New York, where the weather was beautiful all the time. It did take a while to get used to. No change of seasons, and you have to escape the sun as much as possible, whereas in New York, you find the sun as much as possible. As far as work goes, it was much more interesting, very diverse. I had to learn landscaping and turf management and human resources and accounting, a little of everything, as well as construction techniques and mechanics. So that made it a much more interesting day rather than going in and sitting in an office and going through the same paperwork for the same type of thing day after day after day.
And you progressed quite quickly through the ranks and eventually making your way up to superintendent. But something I'm also really interested in is you were president of the Florida GCSA. You also got involved in local and regional boards. What was the kind of the motivation for you to do that? What did you kind of what inspired you to want to sit at the table and really make a difference there?
Well, when I started doing the board work, because I would go to GCSAA or local GCSA meetings, and generally there were maybe one or two other women in the room. We do have one other female superintendent locally. Otherwise, the women were maybe vendors or worked with the board in some capacity, administrative assistants, that kind of thing. And it was intimidating, a little uncomfortable to walk into a meeting. Also, where my golf course is located, I'm between cities, so I really didn't have a close connection with the superintendents in other larger cities. So I was sort of an outsider when I came in. And I was also older than a lot of the guys who were there. And it was a bit uncomfortable, a little bit intimidating. The men who were my age had been superintendents already for 20 years. And so that was a little, I can't say difficult because they were terrific. It just was, I was just basically starting out and they were already there.
How did that sort of help you in your day-to-day work? And I suppose what did you bring to that group to their benefit and their value?
It helped day to day because I had a good support system I could call on if I had any problems. Also, being involved with the association gave me access to more vendors who I could, talk with and maybe get more up-to-date information as I needed it. As far as my bringing to the board, I believe I just brought a different perspective, a different viewpoint. I was the only woman on the board. I also came from a smaller golf course, an executive golf course, not a big budget operation. And a lot of the other board members had come from very large operations with enormous budgets. So I kind of brought in the small town.
Now, you talk about kind of underrepresentation on boards like those, but although there's a lot of good work being done, underrepresentation is a bit of a running theme where females are concerned, both superintendents, turf professionals,
Correct.
Of course, architects, club managers. Now with the benefit of having retired and kind of looking, I suppose, on the outside into the industry, what would you kind of list as the action points that the industry could take on to kind of improve that balance in that situation?
Okay, one of the things I wish I would have done and had time to do would be more outreach to high school level, going to the STEM days, going to career fairs, doing presentations even at like the Boys and Girls Clubs, things like that, to make women and girls aware that it is even a possibility. One of the themes that I found with our GIS panel is most of us didn't even know that you could be a golf course superintendent for a living. And so to bring that to other young men and women, but also diverse men and women, I think is really important. And I also think that GCSAA has done some like public service announcement spots on the Golf Channel, which are fantastic for the association. I would like personally to see a little more diversity in the people that they're showing on those PSAs.
And hopefully as that awareness grows amongst young people that this could well be a potential career for them, what advice would you give to them, and to particularly young women coming into that sort of environment?
Stay open. Stay open to all opportunities. Take advantage of opportunities. Don't say no when somebody proposes something totally different and off the wall. Think about it. The other thing, one of the best pieces of advice was Joel Jackson gave me, and it was Q-tip. Quit taking it personally. Just remember that any criticism is not a personal jab at you. It's, it just all comes with the territory.
Fantastic advice, Nancy, and thank you very much for that and for your contribution to the turf industry. Nancy Miller, thank you so much for talking to Syngenta Growing Golf.
You're very welcome. And Syngenta, thank you so much for bringing this out to the forefront. We appreciate it.